Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasoda Nandana Radha Janaranjana. Yasoda Nandana Radha Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Yamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari. Yasoda Nandana Radha Janaranjana. Yasoda Nandana Radha Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jamuna Tira Vanacharya. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Prabhudakacharya Asadhara Satushi Shiman. His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Haribo, Slava Zabrani Bhaktam, Slava Zabrani Bhaktam, Slava Zabrani Bhaktam, Slava Shri Guru Shri Garangi. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskadyade Siddharne. Divine in Slovene is Duhovni. That's spiritual. What's that? Bojansko. That's divine. Milos. Mercy. Milos is blessed. Mercy. It's divine mercy. Is that right? Bojanstvo milost. That's similar to Russian. Milosti is mercy, and at least in Russian is mercy, and Blagasta is full of opulence, divine. Different in Hindi. Om Agyanatimanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshura Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Lena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Takanchena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tribhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Do you know what the word for blessings in Russian is? No. Do you know? Благословение. What's that? But it's easy for me to remember blessings in Russian. Благословение. Благослов will be easy to remember also. Is that right, Благослов? Yeah. They cut short from Slovenia. Slovenia must have something to do with love. Is that where the word comes from? Because in Lubov in Russian is love. Slovenia. What's that? Ljubljana, yeah, Ljubljana, Lubov. It comes from the word love? We hope. Of course. Sreda? What does Sreda mean in Slovene? Sredo. What is, that's right. What is the word for of course in Russian, in Slovene? Slovenia? Of course. Seveda. Yeah, Seveda. So we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, questions by the sages. We're up to text number 2. And where are we here? Nothing is. Nothing is, here it is. Nothing is apart from the substance, but at the same time, let's read the translation again. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So what are the two words, two adjectives used at how we're supposed to hear the Bhagavatam? Of course. What are the two words?
Attentively, submissive.
Yes, attentively. So we can remember these words because they're used in different ways. Just like Prabhupada writes, the art of Krishna consciousness in the Krishna book is the art of focusing one's attention and then giving one's love to Krishna. So that submissiveness doesn't mean out of fear or out of fear. Generally in the material world we think, I'm going to be submissive because if not, I'm going to get into trouble. But this is out of love. Similarly, we have throughout our philosophy different ways of expressing the same thing. Tesham sadatam yuktanam bhajantam priti purvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. So the same thing is explained there. There's only one philosophy, by the way. There's not the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, then there's another philosophy from the Srimad Bhagavatam, another one from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, or one verse has one philosophy, another verse has another one. Therefore, that's why assimilation of the philosophy is so important, so we can see it from the different angles, and then understand what's actually being said. So in the verse, Tesham sadatam yuktanam, Tesham sadatam. What does sadatam mean? Always. Yuktanam. What is yuktanam? Yes, it means connected with what? In this video. What's that? By the process of? Service. Yeah, it's being connected with Krishna through the process of devotional service. Always. So is that attentiveness or is that submissiveness? Yes, that's right. If you're not attentive, how can you be always connected with Krishna through devotional service? And the next one is bhajantam priti purvakam. What is bhajantam? Priti purvakam. Could be. Purvakam. I mean, it's just not. Purva is full, so I guess purvakam should be completely. But let's see the exact translation here. T. Well, Prabhupada translates it, at least in the word for word, is translated as in loving ecstasy. Anyhow, priti is affection, actually. And purvakam, full affection, would be loving ecstasy. So it's not different. So what is that? Submissiveness? Or is that, well, we already have one attentiveness already. There's only have two choices. We already eliminated one of them. So loving ecstasy, priti purvakam, that would be submissiveness. Without love, if you're in love with someone, generally you're submissive to them, isn't it right? When you get married to someone, supposedly, you're supposed to be surrendered. There's supposed to be a reciprocation of love between two people, so surrendered to two people. If the woman tells the husband, can you please take out the garbage? And he said, I can't do that because I'm so much in love with you. I'm so much in ecstasy. By your association, I can't leave you for a second to take out the garbage. Sorry. Do it yourself. It wouldn't be much loving ecstasy. And the man tells the woman, can you please stop watching all those soap operas and clean the floor sometimes? And she said, I can't because every time I watch a soap opera, it reminds me of you and me, so I can't stop watching them. Sorry. No, it's submissiveness. You're supposed, if someone loves you and you ask them to do something, they can't start talking back to you. Hey, what are you telling me what to do? Who do you think you are anyhow? Where do you get the nerve to tell me what to do? Do you know who I am? No, who are you? I don't know either, but anyhow. You should know. You should respect me for who I am, whoever I am. So, priti purva, so here it's, in the verse, so it's important to know these things. In this verse, Hushusho Shadadanasya Shushu shows, and this is also the beginning of the book. We'll come to that verse very shortly. Su means very nicely, shusha, where all the Slavic languages get the word to hear. What does that mean? To hear. Slušat. It must be the same in Slovene also. Slušat. It comes from the Sanskrit. Sushusho. And Russian is also slusha. Slushu. Actually, slušat is also in Russian, to hear. Like, what's that? Yeah. And also, like to serve is služenie. Or sluba. Servant is sluba. Shuzba. So this shusho, hear it with care and attention. Hear, carefully hear. Hear with the idea of serving. Just like there are three different things in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 34. The three aspects of devotional service are submission, inquiry, submission, and service. So again, we get the word submission. That's why it's so good to know English. Why is it good to know English? At least my experience of reading Russian, I can't understand how the devotees can understand what our philosophy is when I read some of the books that are translated to Russian. Because not that the translation is necessarily wrong, but it's not consistent as the English. I mean, the Sanskrit is perfectly consistent, but the English is a little bit closer to consistency. So if you hear a word submission, then it actually, you can think about the other times it was used, and then see how it relates to different, how that conception of submission relates to different aspects of our philosophy. Like in the seventh canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, submission is also used for brahmachari. That brahmachari guru kule vasandanta gurur hitam. So the brahmachari should always be, he should live in the house of his guru, and he should always be submissive. So what does that mean? The guru says, hey, bow down, you little guy. Who do you bow down? Oh, yes, sir. Or else you don't eat for a week. Oh, yes, of course. I love the culture. No, it's out of love for the guru. Guru surida saurida. Out of firm faith and determination to serve the guru. Out of love for the guru. Sandipani, Krishna and Sudama didn't go into the forest out of fear that they wouldn't get something to eat if they didn't do what the guru said. They went out of respect and love for the guru and went through so many difficulties for him. So that's the culture. Especially the culture of bhakti. Of course, the impersonalism may be a little different, but for the culture of bhakti, it's love and devotion. So, Sushusho Shradhanasya, hear with care and attention with the idea of service, Shradhanasya. And that Shraddha, what does Shraddha mean?
Faith.
And where is it? One of the places it comes from is Sad. What does Sad mean?
Eternal.
Sat means eternal. But this is Sad.
6.
Shut.
Shut.
No, this is Sat. Anyhow, this somehow or another. Sanskrit is such you can get many meanings for it. Could come the Sandhi between Shradhanasya, could come from that Sandhi to mean eternal. But here it means the heart, where you put the heart. Da means to put. Just like in the Slavic languages also, dat, at least in Russian, means to put something, or to give actually. Dat means to give. In Slovene, where is the word to give? Didati. Didati pratigrinati. Yeah. So where you give your heart, where you put your heart. So Shraddha means where you put your heart. Wherever we put our attention, wherever we put our heart, we get experience from it. And by the experience, we develop a certain faith. So it's translated as faith. Faith means experience in something. Every time we put our attention to something, we get an experience, and we understand that experience to one degree or another, and that's called faith. Does that make sense? Make sense? So, Prabhupada translated Shraddhadanasya with care and attention. So, wherever we put our attention, or as Vaishesika Prabhu would sometimes say, where the attention goes, energy flows. Wherever we pay attention to, that's where our energy goes to. So, Shraddhadanasya with care and attention. So wherever we put our attention, we should put our attention on Krishna and then do our carefully, submissively, lovingly. And then when Vasudeva Kataruchi, when we're hearing Vasudeva Kataruchi, unless we hear it with care and attention, we won't actually put it into practice. Because we won't remember what we heard because we didn't pay attention to it. We pay attention to things that have some meaning to us, that we can relate to, that actually have some. And what can we relate to? We want to know how to be happy. Isn't that right? Anyone here listening because they want to find out how to become miserable? We listen to things because we think if we hear them and then we put them into practice, I'll actually get some happiness or pleasure from it. Why is something as in the mode of ignorance, things in the mode of ignorance like pornography, people are interested in? Do they think that this is going to cause me misery? According to the Bhagavad Gita, they read Bhagavad Gita, if you get attached to the object of the senses, you'll become miserable. They think, yeah, I always wanted to be miserable. Let's try and find out how we can become the most miserable. No, they think we'll get pleasure. Even if it's temporary, it's better than nothing. One drop in the desert of water is better than no drops at all. So, we're supposed to hear the Bhagavatam with care and attention. And how to do that, partly it means that we have to learn what the word attention means, and submissively. We have to know what the word submissive means in a practical way. We have to know what attention means in a practical way. Otherwise, how we can apply it within our lives. So that's what the whole Bhagavatam, part of it at least, these are the introductory verses to the Bhagavatam. So we have to understand it very carefully what it's saying. Otherwise, we hear attentively and submissively, and it goes right over us. We have no idea what they're talking about. Or we may have some idea, but it's a very limited idea. Of course, we have an idea, because we can understand the language, but it has very limited, especially when we're dealing with spiritual subject matters. Because the idea of attention may be the same in some respects as material attention and material submissiveness. But as I said in the beginning, generally we have all kinds of connotations with every word we hear from our material experience and the way words are interpreted in the English language or in any language. What is the word in Russian? Submissiveness would be sajenia. Sajenia. I don't know what would be in Slovene to be submissive. Predanim sluzhenia. That's devotional service in Russian. How do you say submissiveness in Slovene? Do they have a word like that? What's that? Poslushna. That means it's serving. But that comes from Russian also. Slut, po, being. Pokloni. Obeisances. Is that pokloni is also obeisances here? Yeah. So anyhow, we should understand these words quite well, and then we'll be able to understand how to actually apply them in our lives. Otherwise, if we just hear, if we hear Bhagavatam with care, with submissively and attentively, we may think, well, I just got to listen, although I don't like what they're saying. It's really a pain to be in the class because they're telling me so many things I don't like to hear. So how can I possibly understand what's going on? Because I don't want to listen. So we have to, of course, the speaker should say things in such a way is that it becomes palatable to the audience to the best he can, so that they can actually want to listen. So when new people come, we don't usually start with the rasa dance and Krishna in the bushes with the gopis. Maybe fighting with the coward boys they'd appreciate. But they may misunderstand other things. In any case, again, so nothing is apart from the substance, but at the same time the energies are different from the substance. This conception is not contradictory. Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly promulgates this simultaneously one and different philosophy of the Vedanta Sutra, which begins with Janmad Yasya Sutra. In other words, everything here is spiritual. Now, as we chant Hare Krishna, as we perform our devotional service, our consciousness is supposed to change. Certainly it changes, but we have to be aware of the changes of our consciousness. That's part of the advantage of chanting Hare Krishna. We may not be in ecstasy all the time, but at least we should be aware of how our consciousness is changing. Therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, what is the most confidential knowledge, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita? What is the best, not confidential, what is the best of all knowledge in Bhagavad Gita, does Krishna say?
The one who shares the Krishna consciousness with others.
Well, and yeah, that's certainly true. That's the best of all the devotees. What's the best of all knowledge?
Devotional service.
No. No, I mean, of course, you can't say, Krishna says that's the most confidential of all knowledge in the ninth chapter. Right?
The highest.
No, the best. Not the highest may not be the best for us. Just like if you're sick and there's a nectar, but you can't digest nectar, then it may not be the best thing for you, although it's the best. Nectar is the best. In the Nectar of Instruction, it says, Sat Krishna Nama Charitadi Suptapta Vidya Pitopta Tapta Rasanastra Nirochikanu Kinvadarada Nudinam Kala Saiva Jushta Swadvikala Bhavati Tatkula Mulahandri. Does anyone know what that means? Sat Krishna Nama Charitadi Pitapta Pitya. Pitapta Pit means what's that? Yeah, like jaundice. So the holy name, form, quality, and pastimes of Krishna are all transcendently sweet, like sugar candy, actually sugar. But the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidya cannot relish anything sweet. But it is wonderful how by simply chanting the sweet names every day, a natural relish awakens within one's tongue, and his disease of avidya is destroyed at the root. So we have, anyone, I think most of us will admit, we have a little bit of jaundice, spiritual jaundice. Therefore, the sugar candy, what's the sugar candy compared to? Yeah, the holy name, form, quality, and pastimes are just like sugar candy. But because our consciousness is covered by avidya, we can't relish anything sweet. The sweet form of Krishna, his sweet name, just like we're chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I love it. Has anyone ever fallen asleep during a feast?
No.
Has anyone ever fallen asleep chanting the holy names? Hare Krishna. Prabhu, I'm in ecstasy, don't you see? Don't disturb my ecstasy. So, but we're covered by avidya in different ways. Sometimes it's ignorance and we go to sleep. Sometimes it's passion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Hey Ram, hey Ram, 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 hey Krishna. And finally, Ram, Ram, hey, hey, dig, dig. I feel so good. And sometimes it's goodness. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama. Sometimes it's a little goodness in there too. So these are the three modes of material nature, and therefore Krishna says, which I forgot the first. I usually forget the first. Let's see if I can remember. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Parambuya Pravakshami Jnanam Jnanam Uttama Yajgatva Muniya Sarve Param Siddhimi Togata. So what does Param mean? What's that? The highest. So here Krishna says, Param Bhuya. Again, I'm going to tell you the highest knowledge. Param Bhuya Pravakshami. I'm going to tell you. Jnanam Jnanam Uttamam. This is out of knowledge. This is Uttamam. What does Uttamam mean? The highest. What's that? Uttam, the highest. So now Krishna says, I'm going to tell you this, the best knowledge, but in a way which is the best of all, whatever it is. I declare you the supreme wisdom. I guess here it's translated as wisdom. Param, the best of all wisdom. And the best of all knowledge. So Krishna is going to say the same thing he said in the 9th chapter, but in a way which is more palatable to us. We can digest better, which is within our experience, something we can relate to. If we tell someone in the spiritual world everyone is in ecstasy all the time, what would we understand? What does that mean to us? How many of us are in ecstasy all the time? If we say that there's three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance, and when we're in ignorance, we're tired. When we're passionate, we're in anxiety, we're hyper. And when we're in goodness, we're kind of calm and peaceful. Is that within our experience? Anyone have experience like that? Yeah, so therefore Krishna says it's Parambuya Pravakshami Jnanam Jnanam Uttama Yajgatva Muniya Sarve Param Siddhima Togata. Now I'm going to explain to you the same knowledge I've explained, which I said was the best of all knowledge, but I'm going to explain it in a better way. That you can, better way means something you can relate to. He's not talking to the Paramahamsas in the 14th chapter. He's talking to the people who need knowledge, and they can understand that knowledge, because for them, to get out of the modes of material nature will bring them to the platform of liberation. And when they're liberated, then they'll understand what I was talking about in the middle 6 chapters more easily. They can relate to it. So similarly, the substance is non-different from Krishna. So if we say everything here is non-different from Krishna, then we think, well, wow, that's one of the problems that people have in the world who believe in God. If God was all good, why is there so much bad in the world? If everything is non-different from Krishna, then that little baby dying, didn't do anything. Innocent baby dies. Why is God so? If that's non-different from God, what kind of God is it? So much war, so much cruelty, and it's not different from God. I mean, what do we need God for? We got enough cruelty around here. Why do we need the absolute cruelty? therefore, to understand how the substance is non-different from the source, that's what the Bhagavatam will try to explain to us, so we can understand how what's going on here is all for everyone's good. That there's nothing bad about God or what He's doing. The only thing that's bad is what? Is there any bad in this world?
Yes, forgetting God.
Yes, that's bad. And what happens when you forget God?
You're in Maya.
And what happens when you're in Maya? And what happens when you become a demon? What do? What kind of modes do you act under?
Passion and ignorance.
Yes, passion, ignorance. And that's, if someone acts to us in goodness, what do we think?
They're good.
They're good. And if they act in ignorance,
We criticize them.
they're bad. They're bad. But then we think, well, I don't deserve this. I only deserve good. Anyone here thinks they only deserve good? Be honest. Be good and honest. No, everyone thinks they're good. And anyone who acts against them, they must be bad. That's one of the philosophies in Africa. In South Africa, there's one tribe that believes that if you're dead, you're bad. And if you're alive, you're good. So if you kill your enemy, you're good. And your enemy's bad because he's dead. Simple morality. So anyone you kill is bad, and if you remain alive, then you'll be good. Not much. You don't have to worry about your conscience very much. As long as you're alive, you're good. So similarly, if we have this simple conception that I deserve only good because I'm a good person, I love myself, I'm just all inside myself, I'm all warm and cozy. And that anything that acts against me and my interests must be bad. Therefore, God must be bad if He's actually in control of everything. Otherwise, He'd only give me good because I'm all good. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? No. Do you understand what I'm saying? Therefore, people think God is bad because He supposedly does bad things. It's almost inconceivable for the conditioned soul to accept this. That's why you have to have 12 cantos of the Bhagavatam. You listen to Prabhupada, and people will get angry when they hear Prabhupada. Because he's not, I forget what they call it, what he says is not only always socially acceptable. What do they call that? When they,
Politically correct.
what's that?
Politically correct.
Politically correct. He says things which are completely out of being politically correct. Like Prabhupada was asked by Sri Damodar Maharaj about people starving in different parts of the world. And Prabhupada made a remark, well, that's good for them. Is that politically correct?
No.
Oh, Prabhupada, you're so feeling and loving. You think it's good when people starve. But then he explained it. He said, just like if you're in the hospital and the doctor says you're supposed to fast because you have a disease. And Prabhupada gives the example of his neighbor. He heard one time his neighbors was beating her son, hitting her son, not beating him to death, just hitting her son, because her son had given some food to his brother who had typhoid, or maybe it was cholera, one of the two. It was probably cholera. And when you give food to someone who has cholera, then it's poison. But his brother was telling the elder brother was telling his younger brother, Mom is trying to starve me to death. Can you give me some food? So the little boy said, all right, believing his elder brother, why his mom's trying to starve you to death. Of course I'll give you some food. He gave him some food and practically killed his brother. So his mother became disturbed and beat the little boy and said, hit the boy. Because otherwise, the little boy didn't understand, but he shouldn't give food to someone who has cholera. Similarly, when one is faced with starvation from one point of view, it's not that we don't give them prasadam. We give everyone prasadam because it's transcendental. But we understand that nothing unjustly is going on in the material world. If Krishna is in control of everything, there's no injustice going on. And if people are going hungry sometimes, that's good for them. It means in their last lifetime, they probably caused other people to go hungry, and therefore they're getting a reaction for their sinful activities. And if they tolerate it, then that tolerance will purify them, and the result is that they'll get a better birth in their next lifetime. In India, that conception was there. For instance, during the war, Second World War, when the British sank all the boats that were carrying rice to Bengal, because they were trying to get the Indians to join in the war effort. So that caused the price of rice to go up from 20 rupees one day to 100 rupees per kilo. So people couldn't afford it, and therefore there were so much problems. Still, the people in India, they didn't cause a riot because they tolerated it, because they understood that this is Krishna's will, and therefore they tolerated it. Of course, we don't go around usually preaching classes. The Prabhupada said that when we ask the question, what about people starving in this place? And Prabhupada said, that's good for them. People won't understand. And even if we give them the full explanation, they may not understand either, depending who they are. But without that understanding, we can't understand how the substance is non-different from the source of the substance. I think nothing is apart from the substance. The substance is Krishna. The energies are different from the substance. So Krishna is the substance, and there are energies, and all the energies are working under his control for the benefit of all living entities at every moment. But how they're being benefited, just like in the Bhagavatam, we'll hear it later on in the Bhagavatam, very shortly, how a cruel man, he had a rebellious son, but he didn't want to chastise the son because it would have caused a bad relationship between him and the son. So he hired someone to chastise the son so he can come back to his senses again. So similarly, Maya is like that. She's hired by Krishna to chastise the living entities so they come back to their senses again and come back to their loving Father. So Krishna is not chastising us directly, he's chastising us through his energies and giving us our karma. His energies are giving us our karma by the laws of nature. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate sujarataram hetun anena kondiyap jagat viparivartate. This divine energy, this divine nature, or this energy is Maya dakshena, is working under my direction. Iksha. Maya, Krishna is seeing everything going on. Maya dakshena prakriti suyate saturajram, producing all moving and non-moving beings, and by its rule, this creation is annihilated. What is it? By its rule, Maya dakshena prakriti suyate saturajram hetunanena kuntiya jagat viparivartate. Yeah, by its rule, everything is going about. It's coming, the annihilations, the creations, everything's affected. So Krishna is the Maya dakshena, everything's going on under his watch, but the material nature has a set of rules that were created called karma. And everyone's getting their karma. And all the karma we're getting has a purpose to either fulfill our desires, material desires, or to, at the same time, to awaken us to Krishna consciousness. So it's a perfect arrangement at every moment by Krishna, either to fulfill our desires, so we get disgusted with them after some time, going through 8,400,000 species of life, eating all kinds of abominable things as nectar, and then finally we might get disgusted and inquire, why am I suffering? Why am I not happy? And then we can turn to Krishna and try to tolerate our previous karma and go on with devotional service, so at the time of death we can think of Krishna and go back to the spiritual world. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
How to get desire to listen the Srimad Bhagavatam?
Hear a little bit. You don't have to hear everything. Just like how to memorize a verse. Have you memorized any verses so far? Nama Om. Oh, how do we do it a little at a time. How do we chant japa and pay attention? Pay attention to one chanting. Hare Krišna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pay attention to one thing, at least. One mantra, whole mantra when we're chanting. Try pay, and then if our mind wanders, come back and try to pay attention to another one. Not to get discouraged if we don't hear everything, but become encouraged by we're hearing something. So similarly in the Bhagavatam, or any hearing, especially reading Prabhupada's books, how to pay attention? Well, reading is probably a little easier in the sense we can read something and then question. Did I actually hear it? We can train ourselves to read better just by asking the question if we heard it. Try and remember what we heard. And if we didn't hear it, go back. Well, we should try to remember what we heard. And then go back and read it again and check if we actually heard what was said. And then we can close the book again, go back again, see if we remember what we heard, or even write it down to be even more sure, because our memories are tricky. Write it down, open the book, and then see if it's actually the same thing that's in the book. We actually heard the same thing. Or we heard whatever our mind was telling us we heard. That way we can train our mind. Or if we don't, in a class, we can just remember one thing and then apply it within in our life today. Then the next day we'll be interested in, and if we get a positive result by doing it, it makes our life better. Then the next day we come back, we'll become more enthusiastic to hear something. So maybe we can get another clue of how to make our life better. So it's by encouraging, by something practical that makes our life better. That's what actually encourages us to hear. Anything else? Hvala. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.